Hi, welcome to our discussion on selling your software company, important factors in determining its value. Uh, Software companies are different than traditional bricks and mortar companies because of what I call the leverage of technology. The ability to scale and to drive efficiencies for the next copy of Adobe Photoshop, for example, which costs $1 to deliver but may sell for $500, is why software companies can sell at some pretty exciting multiples. Um, it certainly depends on where you are in the technology cycle. So, for example, a legacy software company, which is maybe an enterprise or a desktop version that is mature, would have some different value characteristics than, say, a mobile device management software company that's in a hot area, cloud-based, social mobile, kind of the things you hear in the news today about pretty exciting values. Um, for most people, though, those values are pretty much out of reach because of things like, for example, Facebook has billions of users. Most companies will never reach that. Let's talk about a traditional source of driving value in software companies, and that's contractually recurring revenue. And I call this the most powerful revenue a software company can have. It's basically contracted for maintenance, or if you're a software as a service, your annual or your monthly service charge. Recurring revenue is much more powerful than projected sales or for time and materials revenue. It reduces risk because when you come into the office on January 1st, you know what's coming in, and oftentimes that promised or contracted revenue takes care of all the fixed expenses of a company. So, in terms of buyers, they love contractually recurring revenue as a way for them to defray risk in a traditionally risky transaction of buying another company. As I said, legacy versus sort of a hot area, cybersecurity, social mobile, mobile device management, bring your own device. Those have different dynamics. I often hear small companies that are technology based come to me and they go, well, I heard XYZ sold to IBM at 8 times revenue, so I should get 8 times revenue. And we have to kind of talk them off the ledge here because, the companies that IBM is buying are generally far larger, have been in business far longer, a far larger customer set. And so you have a large company premium versus what I call a small company discount. So one of the challenges for smaller technology companies is if a big company is looking at acquiring you, it's just as difficult to buy a large company as it is a small company. So if you've got a company that's doing $70 billion a year in revenue, to move the needle, it's got to be a pretty sizable acquisition. Other than that, the other attractive component is if you've just got some outrageous technology that you have a market lead and it's going to take them a long, long time to build that to catch up, they're going to want to take advantage of your time to market advantage. So that can be a huge value driver in terms of your company. Another thing we talk to sellers about is, gee, I spent $3 million developing this package. I should get $5 million at least. What I tell them again is the market really doesn't care how much you spent to develop that. The market cares about how much that intellectual property will produce for them in their hands. A key component is who is buying your business. And oftentimes, the more stable and mature your product is, that's going to attract more of a financial buyer. Um, the strategic buyers are going after other things other than strict cash flow or EBITDA multiples. They're going after garnering some technology that they can leverage with their infrastructure, their brand, their distribution network, their sales force, their other customers. So if you have a financial buyer, they generally go after the more mature, sort of stable, predictable cash flow, older products, whereas the strategic buyers tend to go after sort of the leveraging technology type companies. Another thing that tremendously determines value is, avoid the buyer of one. A lot of times people get approached by an unsolicited offer and they go into this spiral of negotiations in really what I would consider a vacuum. The more complex your technology, the more, room there is for interpretation, the more you need to let the market help you interpret the value of your company. So if it's just one buyer, think about buying a car. They're not looking to pay sticker price for your company. They're looking to buy it at a discount. And by the way, if they're a competitor, they have a pretty good idea of what your company is truly worth. So the only way to drive that value is to get more than one valid, viable buyer, knowledgeable buyer involved. It's difficult for a business owner to do that himself because selling a company properly is a full-time job, and you're already running a company, which is, I'm sure, more than a full-time job. So how you sell it is surprisingly one of the biggest drivers in determining the valuation of an information technology company, software company, healthcare IT company. And again, the more room for interpretation of the value of the company, the more you need to involve the dynamics of a free market. So there are various valuation metrics. Again, bricks and mortar companies, it might be 1 times revenue, it might be 5 times EBITDA. In software companies, intellectual capital based companies, those same valuation metrics are important, but if it's one of those areas where technology leverage can help a big company, we want to help you throw out those rule books. We want to get an auction, a soft auction going, and we have to be careful about that because large companies don't want to feel like you're leveraging them to drive up their price only to take the deal with somebody else. So you have to do it in a professional and quite frankly, artistic way. Another key component in your value is when you sell it. And when we are representing a technology company, the greatest thing that can happen for us when we're in the middle of the transaction is if one of their competitors is acquired by a powerful larger company. What that ends up doing is it ends up throwing this defensive sort of tone out into the marketplace where the competitors of the large buyer of your other competitor are now forced to go out and launch a sort of counterattack so that they are looking to acquire a similar company so they don't fall behind. So timing can be very, very important. You also don't want to sell from a position of weakness if you've just lost a major customer or if you've lost your fire to compete. You want to be proactive when you sell your company so that you're driving the value as opposed to backpedaling as you go out the door. The final component I'd like to talk to you about today is, forgive me if I'm self-serving, but who you have helping you sell it. Again, selling software companies is not easy for a Main Street broker who's used to selling more traditional, either business to consumer or even bricks and mortar B2B type businesses. Again, you have to feel comfortable that one, your M&A representative understands your business, understands the market, understands who the buyers are, understands how to appropriately position you to drive value. So, for example, one of the things that we've done that's been successful is a lot of times smaller companies have to sell their product at a discount if they're competing against an IBM or a Microsoft, for example, because of the small company risk profile. There's actually a market discount applied to really a similar product sold by a small company versus a large company. So let's say we have financials that are, your revenues are $6 million. And one of the things that we've done is said to a larger company, by the way, you would be able to raise the price of this package to, 1.8 times what they're currently getting. Now, here's what their financials would look like under your umbrella. So again, you've got to feel comfortable in doing that. And as I like to tell our clients, our buyers are trained to kind of bat off those kinds of artistic approaches in driving value, but you never know what factor that you present is going to resonate with a particular buyer. And we make sure that they understand that there are other buyers involved in this process, and they're always wondering what value component is resonating with their competitor. Well, thanks for listening to our brief discussion. Please feel free to contact us if you're contemplating a sale. We'd be happy to have a conversation with you and explore opportunities to work with you. Thank you.